Eric, you don't have to answer this, but what is your personality type? I'm interested to know.
Oh, yeah, I answer. I'm a baboon. And I always say
Okay.
that, and I'm proud to say the baboon just because a lot of people hate their animal type because they're like, I don't like my animal, and a
Right,
baboon is
right.
not the most flattering animal. So I'm like, hey, man, mine is not even great. So like, don't even think like I was making this out so that I could have a cool one. If that
Right.
was the case, I would have put myself as the fox because
Yeah.
foxes love to be foxes. And at the end of the day, like I think you can tell, like certain, especially some of the animals, it's very clear what the archetype is. I think if
Yes.
you say, oh, that person's a fox personality type, you're gonna be like, oh, are they selling me something? Because
Yeah.
they're great at selling them stuff. So baboons are a part of the shaman pack, as I
Mm,
mentioned before with my student who is a member of the shaman pack, but a
right.
different animal. Shamans value self-knowledge. So we have a goal of discovering ourselves. We're often not necessarily, we're the I always say like shamans do not have a midlife crisis because our whole life is a midlife crisis because we're constantly
Oh,
questioning what we do. Now,
nice.
that's a huge disadvantage, especially when you're younger, because nothing's certain for us, and
Yeah.
we kind of like envy fellow students who seem to have everything figured out, even though you're right, you figure out they don't have it figured out.
Right.
But the nice thing is, when it comes to like when we're in our 40s, we're not going to have that moment where like, oh my God, I've done everything in my life that's been terrible, and I haven't even thought about it because generally we would have been loathing our life from our teens. So we've put in the work. So that's
Nice.
my type. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. And then when the HR team was briefing us about the results, they even shared, like if I was a team leader, they shared with me the results of my teammates and my team
Mm.
members so that we could figure out a way to lead all of these people who have different results. So, what has been your experience, Eric? What would you suggest that as team leaders or as leaders, what is something that people can be aware of when they're trying to manage a certain group of people or manage a project which has different team members from different backgrounds and different experiences?
Well, definitely knowing someone's personality type. I think if you hone in on the fact that if this person is like this animal type, they
Right.
will value this more so than maybe you would, especially if it's a different personality type. I think that's important because I think when it comes to dealing with differences, we often accept differences, but the differences we accept are very superficial. Like they're very like, oh,
Mm,
that person's more organized and I'm more flexible, or that person's more outgoing and I'm more introverted. I
yeah.
put quotes because I don't really love extroversion, introversion as a trait description. But we assume that the other person across from us values the same things. So we're like, oh
Yes.
yeah, we value the same things. We just go about it differently. I'm like, no, no, no. We actually value very different things. And so when you're valuing the person across from you values something very different than you, I think it's super important to be aware of that and to not take it personal. Because I think sometimes we take it
Mm,
personal and then we make character judgments, right? We're like, oh, well,
yeah.
that person's not a good person because they don't value their family. It's like,
Right.
well, maybe, but when's the last time you heard about Einstein's family? Right? Like I'm always like, yeah, do you know about it? And Einstein had a daughter. Maybe he wasn't the greatest dad, but we don't hear about it because that just wasn't his priority. His priority
Right.
was clearly information and like delving into that. And you know what? It helped families all over history and the
Yeah.
world.